Stay tuned, Bears fans, because here in just a few minutes, we're going to take a look at the latest on Jaylon Johnson as a Pro Football Hall of Famer has weighed in on whether or not the Bears should trade or keep Johnson long term. My name is Harrison Graham. Got a lot of Bears trade rumors to dive into here on today's show. Before we get into all the latest trade buzz, want to follow back on Twitter? All you got to do is follow these steps. Share this video on Twitter by clicking the share icon and selecting Twitter. Tag me in the tweet at HGramNFL. Throw a little hashtag FGB on the tweet so I can find you guys. Also, by tagging me, that helps as well. If you're following me, follow those steps. First 10 people to do that will get a follow back. So if you want to follow back on Twitter, share the video, follow these steps. I will follow you back. All right, let's start with Cody Whitehair. Bleacher Report listed the veteran offensive lineman as a trade candidate. Obviously, it's been a not great season for Whitehair. The center experiment did not work, so they moved him back to guard. But I think there could be some interesting reasons to trade him. Here's Alex Ballantyne of Bleacher Report. He says Whitehair isn't great, but he has only given up 2 sacks this season and has the versatility to play both guard spots and center in a pinch. The 31-year-old shouldn't be part of the long-term plan, and when Nate Davis returns from injury, he'll be back to a reserve role. And I think the last part of that is the intriguing part of this. What do the Bears do with their offensive line when Nate Davis is back? I do think that means Cody Whitehair would go to the bench and be a backup. Now, you look at his contract situation for this year's cap hits $14.1 million, dead cap of $18.2. Next year, $13.2 million, dead cap of $4.1. So what does that mean? They can cut him this offseason and save almost $9 million anyway, which I think that's very much a possibility given the way he's played this year. And look, let me just say this too. I'm not sure a team would take him on. Maybe if there's a significant injury somewhere this weekend, a team is willing to throw a late-round pick swap or something for Cody Whitehair. And look, I love Cody Whitehair, but I think you would have to consider it if a team is willing to give you anything for him because, A, you get out from under his contract for next year, and B, he's probably not a starter 2 weeks from now if Nate Davis gets back soon. So I just think that's the reality. And look, I'm not diminishing Cody Whitehair's run here, but you don't keep guys around because of what they've done in the past, especially if they're not going to be starters, which, again, I think very soon there's a good chance he won't be a starter. And that's all he's been in Chicago, 114 starts. He was a Pro Bowler in 2018. He's been a team captain some years. He's a selfless teammate. He's been asked to do a lot. Hey, you're a guard. We're going to move you to center. We're going to move you back to guard. We're going to move you back to center. And he's never complained about any of it. He's been what you want in a teammate in Chicago. But as we've discussed multiple times this year, and I actually do think he played decent this past week, so kudos to him, he's well past his prime. I mean, well past his prime. This is what the offensive line was recently, but he was so bad at center that they had to move him to guard for the injured Nate Davis. Lucas Patrick got back in there. Hopefully Braxton Jones gets back here. But the idea was to move him from guard to center to maximize this offensive line because you signed Nate Davis to be your other guard with Tevin Jenkins. Well, now you can't trust him to play center because his snaps are all over the place. So, look, if a trade is out there, I think you got to do it. I mean, that's the reality of it. Again, he's been a warrior for this franchise. I got nothing but good things to say about Cody Whitehair's run here. But I just don't see a scenario where he's back next season. And if you've come to that conclusion, if someone offers you a 6th or a 7th or even a late-round pick swap, don't you do that if you're Ryan Poles? I think you do. And, hell, for Cody, it would be a chance to go to a contender because I don't think a non-contender would trade for an aging offensive lineman. So what do you guys think? Would you trade for Cody Whitehair, or trade Cody Whitehair, if a trade was out there? Chime in for us in the comments section. Type T for trade, or you can type K for keep. Okay, let's talk about Jaylon Johnson. Keep or trade Jaylon. That's the hot topic around the Bears right now. Tony Dungy, Hall of Fame coach with the Indianapolis Colts, obviously coached down in Tampa, a part of that staff for a while. Whether or not they should keep or trade Jaylon Johnson. He weighed in. Obviously, he's been working with NBC for a while. He hopped on an NBC Sports Chicago podcast and said, if you've got a player that plays your style and you're comfortable with him, let's go forward and let's keep winning. Well, let's start winning. And you never have enough cover people. I know this coaching staff is comfortable with him. I just never liked the idea, this team, maybe they're not in it, so let's look ahead. Well, the way you get better is stockpile good players, so I'm not trading Jaylon Johnson just to get another pick down the road. And this back part of this quote is what I have been saying for a few weeks now, and really dating back to the offseason, is, yes, people are going to say, well, you're rebuilding, so get a draft pick. He's 24 years old. At some point, you have to keep good homegrown talent, a quote from Ryan Poles, and pay these guys. Like, he has earned a contract. He is a player you can rebuild with. If he's 30, it's a different conversation. He's 24. You can give him a 3-year deal and potentially give him a third contract if he's still good at the end of that deal. So I don't like this idea of, well, let's just trade him for a second. You're hoping whoever you draft with the draft pick that you get for Jaylon Johnson is as good as Jaylon Johnson. That's not very likely. Like, it just isn't. He's been a very, very, very good player. Is he elite? He hasn't been elite in his career, but you could argue he has been this year. He has the lower passer rating when targeted among any quarterbacks in the NFL this year. That's pretty damn good, man. Like, he's been a really good player, and hey, he had 2 picks last week. Starting to take the football away here as well. Sign him to an extension. Keep him long term. If you want to trade some other pieces, I'm cool with that. I'm not trading Jaylon Johnson. I don't think there's any logic to it. What say you? Will the Bears trade Jaylon Johnson? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. I really hope they do not do this. I don't think they will, but we know Ryan Poles likes to make trades, so I would not be completely shocked. All right, more on Jaylon and another trade rumor in just a second, but Rocket Money is today's sponsor. Do you struggle to save money every single month? With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify all of those sneaky subscriptions that keep charging you month after month and cancel any one that you no longer use. Rocket Money is such an easy way to start saving money, as it is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and lowers your bills all in one place. With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the subscriptions you don't want because they list them all on one screen, list out how much you're paying for each one, click cancel next to the specific ones you don't want anymore, and it's going to be taken care of very, very quickly. With over 5 million users and counting, Rocket Money has helped save its customers an average of $720 per year and $1 billion in total savings so far for all the Rocket Money users combined. Think about how much you could or what you could do with $720. If you started saving that much per year, think about what you could do. You could start a college fund. You can go on vacation. You can go on several nice dinners. You can just do whatever the hell you want with those $700 because before you didn't even realize you could have had that money just sitting around. RocketMoney.com/Bears now. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions and start filling up your pockets. It's RocketMoney.com/Bears now. Download the app today with our link in the comments and description. No chance I'm trading Jaylon Johnson. I think I reiterated that pretty clearly before we started talking about Rocket Money. I mean, you look at his coverage stats this year, he has been elite this year. I mean, QB rating, we mentioned this the other day. I'll reiterate it for those who didn't see that video. 28.4 QB rating. To put that into context, if a quarterback spikes the football on every single play for an entire game, it's a 39.6 rating. So when you throw at Jaylon Johnson, you're coming up with a worse result than if you just spike the football if you're an opposing quarterback. What does that mean? That means he is causing takeaways. That means there has not been success when throwing his way. He's been locked down, man. They already don't even throw at him much. And when they do, you're not getting good results. So that is a guy I want to keep around. Now, of course, I know the comments are already asking, well, how much is it going to cost? Well, I think that there's a little trickiness there because I don't think he's going to get that $20 million type of contract because he has some minor injuries in his career. And, you know, while he's playing like it this year, he hasn't stacked multiple good seasons like a Jalen Ramsey has when he got paid, a Jair Alexander. Good seasons, but not like special seasons like those guys have. I don't think he gets Trayvon Diggs money, who had an 11-pick season because he hasn't had that level of takeaways. I look at like the J.C. Jackson range, a player he's much better than. So here's my contract projection. 3 years, $48 million, $16 million per year, 31.5 guaranteed. So basically a 2+1. First 2 years are basically guaranteed. Third year, you can get out of it with minimal penalty if he's not performing or if he's had injury problems, whatever. I think this is fair for both sides. And if I'm Jaylon, I want a 3-year deal, not a 4, because then I can hit the open market again at 27. And you're still a young player if you're Jaylon Johnson, and the Bears could potentially bring him back for a third contract. So that's the deal I'm making. I'd go up a little bit higher if I was Chicago. Probably wouldn't give him 20 a year, but I'd be willing to go to 17 or 18 because, again, you got a lot of money and you need to keep good young players. All right, subscribe to the channel. When Bears news drops, we make a video. If the Bears sign Jaylon Johnson to an extension, we will cover it here on the channel. So hit that subscribe button. Do not miss out here on Chicago Bears Now. Plus, will be live this afternoon at 4 o'clock Central Time. All right, could the Bears make a trade with the Washington Commanders for either Chase Young or Montez Sweat? Jordan Schultz, who's now with Bleacher Report, says that one of these two will likely get traded from what he's hearing. Here's what Schultz had to say. From everything I've been told, it's probably going to take us 2 or 3, second or third round pick, to get one of them. I do think at the right price that the Commanders would consider moving on one of those pass rushers. That's my understanding. He went on to say, new ownership, both are free agents, going to be tough to pay both. So trading one of these guys is very much a possibility at this point. And there's been other reports that the Commanders have already gotten trade offers, especially for Montez Sweat. You look at what these guys have done this year. Both have been very productive. Montez Sweat, more well-rounded. Chase Young, the higher upside pass rusher guy with 35 pressures compared to 23 this year. And look, I know the Bears are 2-5, and you don't want to make the same mistake twice, which last year they traded for a day 2 pick for Chase Claypool, even though they weren't contending yet, and that obviously didn't work out. But I think I'd go down that road again because A, Sweat has been consistent every year of his career, and B, when Chase Young's been healthy, he's been a damn good pass rusher in the NFL. The only question there is, can he stay healthy? And this year he has, and he's been very, very good. I would trade a day 2 pick, especially if it's a third. I mean, if you could get Chase Young or Montez Sweat for a third-round pick, like that's that's pretty damn good value. I mean, Chase Young was the number 2 overall pick just a few years ago. Montez Sweat was a first-round pick 4 or 5 years ago. He's 27. Chase Young is 24. And one thing you're lacking on your defensive line is a really, really good edge rusher. Pick your poison. You could go either way. Chase Young's pass rushing ability is certainly higher. He's also 2.5 years younger. Sweat is much better against the run. He's a great edge setter, and he has sack production as well. So I'd be cool with either one for a day 2 pick. I mean, I know that you're 2-5 and you're probably not making the playoffs this year, and logic would say to be mostly sellers. But again, young, controllable player, if you pay them, there's logic there if the Bears want to go down that route. All right, so pick one. Who would you rather have, Montez Sweat or Chase Young? Type MS for Montez Sweat, CY for Chase Young. Sweat might be the slightly safer guy, but he's also 2.5 years older. Young's got much more upside, and he's a better pass rushing talent. So I'd be cool either way. I'm not giving up a first-round pick. I've made that clear. But Sweat, Chase Young, in a Bears uniform, I would be down for that. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Remember, if you want to follow back on Twitter, hit that share button. Share it to Twitter. Tag me in the tweet at HGramNFL. Throw a little hashtag FGB for bonus points. And the first 10 people that do all of that and follow me will get a follow back. That's the challenge to you. 3, 2, 1, go.